You see, something's going to happen.
What? What's going to happen?
Something wonderful.
What?
I understand how you feel. You see, it's all very clear to me now.
Welcome to the Occult Rejects. This episode, I got a couple of the rejects with me, and we got a brand new guest on today. And before we introduce her, we'll introduce the other rejects with us. And I got my boy, Headless Giant. What is going on, sir? I finally got to meet this man after about 3.5 years. He got stuck spending 3 days with me at an event, and I had a blast. And I have to even say, yo, for real, when I met the guy, it was just like, it wasn't even weird. It was just like he was already my boy. Like, it's hard to explain. Like, there was no uncomfortability at all. I was just like, yo, it's fucking Headless, finally. You know, and we had a blast. But thank you, man, for jumping on. I know yesterday sucked getting home, same as me. Yeah, it was horrible. I didn't get home until about 12:30, but I appreciate you jumping on today, man. What is going on?
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here, and so is Beans. He missed me for the last 2 weeks. So he's not going to let me have a moment of relaxation here. But if you guys want to check me out, I'm on Twitter and I'm on Instagram. Just look up Headless Giant and you'll find me there. I had an awesome time this weekend. Hopefully we get a chance to talk about it or something on stream. That was an incredible time. And so check me out. I've got 777 coming up tonight with you. So
oh, hell yeah, that's right. I totally forgot about that. I forgot it's Tuesday. Holy shit. Yeah. I keep on thinking it's Monday, like yesterday.
Get your Kabbalah fix.
Yeah. That's funny. Well, thanks for the reminder. I appreciate that. I would have received the link and I would have been like, what the fuck? Oops. Go check out all his stuff. And Matt, thank you so much for coming on, my man. I always appreciate you making it on. I know you're over in Italy still, right? Correct?
Yes.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Over the Atlantic. Yeah, pretty happy to be here. Always nice to talk about the stuff that I like as well. So tarot definitely is up there. And yeah, I mean, you can find me on many platforms. Always Matt Mora 19. So that's Instagram, X, YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, maybe some other place. And there's also the Grey Lodge. We host weekly spaces on X. That's always on Fridays. And you can also find the videos there, the ones we save and post to YouTube on thetruegraylodge.com with the V, so true. And also my website, Kabbalah.com, that's KAABALAH.com. Doing some late here readings before I change the stuff that I'm providing there. So if you want to do that, make sure to grab it quickly before it changes. But yeah, pretty happy to be here and let's have a great convo.
All right. Thank you, man. I really appreciate you making it again as well. Always like when you're here. And finally, the guest, Sabrina Scott. She's into tarot. She's an author. She's got a bunch of stuff that I'm sure we can all talk about today. Very excited to get you on. So please, Sabrina, let people know like what your deal is and where they can find all your amazing work.
Oh my God. Hello. So excited to be here and to finally meet all of you. Yeah. I feel like it's going to be a really fun little chat. So for anyone who doesn't know me, I guess I'm a professional witch and have been for more than a decade. I've been reading cards for 25 years, been into witchcraft for 25 years, grew up in a fun thing called spiritualism. So that means like seances, mediumship, table tipping, like trance possession, all that fun shit. Got to see that before I turned 10. So definitely has influenced a lot of my perspective on a lot of this kind of like witchy woo-woo magical occult stuff. That's a little bit of a unique, fun little thing about me. Also doing a PhD in a science department about trauma and witchcraft and how witchcraft can be a healing thing for trauma. So it's a bunch of what I do. And if anyone is curious to check me out on the good old interwebs, SabrinaMScott.com, Instagram, Sabrina M. Scott. What else? YouTube is /Sabrina Scott, because I guess there's not as many Sabrina Scotts on YouTube. So I was able to get it without the M.
Oh, nice. Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, and I'll definitely include all your links at the bottom as well. So,
awesome, thank you.
Yes. I know, I guess, just to jump right into it, you have started off young. You were probably, as for what I get out of it, you were brought up into it. So, if you don't mind, I guess as personal as you mind getting, could you let us know, how that was? Normally, I would ask my guests, what got you into this stuff? You were born into it, so.
Yeah. So kind of, yeah, unique upbringing, I suppose you could say. So my mom was super big into spiritualism. So she was always into mediumship and stuff like that, as was her mother. So if we count down the lines, I guess technically I'm seventh generation with all of that stuff. And so it was really, really cool to be able to grow up in an environment where I could basically compare like spiritual notes, like with my mom, to be like, all right, I'm picking up on this spirit, like, and I would hold it in my mind and be like, all right, mom, what are you picking up on? And then she'd be like, blah, 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 and like kind of rattle off. And I'd be like, yes, that's exactly what I'm getting. So when we're talking about like building spiritual confidence and like spiritual skill building, it was really sweet to have access to that kind of evidential comparing notes type of thing from a really, really young age. I think a lot of people struggle with that or struggle with confidence in terms of spirituality and like energy work skills and like, is this real? Am I making this up? Like I've heard that from so many newer practitioners. And so I was very blessed to kind of be able to have someone to bounce this stuff off of.
I
And
totally
just to
agree
have
with
that
that.
kind of early confirmation. And so for anyone who doesn't know about spiritualism, it was found in the 1850s upstate New York, which is actually where my mom lives. So it's like kind of an interesting little thing. So she's still like involved with the church, the OG spiritualist church, and it considers itself a science, a religion, and a philosophy. And it's really big on proving the existence of life after death, like the continuation of the soul via mediumship and healing. And so growing up with that, first and foremost, like it really has influenced my perspective on things like tarot, witchcraft, stuff like that. And no shade to like a lot of tarot and witchy people, but I do feel like a lot of folks out there practicing would not know what to do if a spirit actually showed up. Do you know what I mean? Like there is a lot of that, at least in like the witchy space, maybe not so much like the occultism space, if you know what I mean.
No, I get that. I mean, I've even asked, I mean, this is a little off, but I mean, it's kind of almost the same comparison. I've asked Bigfoot people, what are you going to do when you do finally see him? They'll probably fucking run.
Right.
What do people say when you ask that?
Well,
That's
if
such a
there
great
is,
question.
yeah. When you finally got him now, what are you going to do? And people were like, I had people on the show, and some of them didn't even have an answer right away because they're like,
Yeah, it's interesting. And so I guess I got to kind of see the real deal of it all from a really young age. So like the question of like, is this real or am I delusional? You know, that question was never really a thing just because I did get to have so much confirmation and evidence.
yeah, no, that
from a
helps,
really young
especially
age,
from a
yeah.
person that you trust.
Totally.
That was the
Yeah.
thing that was even, I mean, it wasn't one of the reasons why I had left the OTO, but like when I started having my experiences, I realized I was like, yo, there's nobody even here I could talk to about this. Because I tried to, like, kind of with a few people, and I was just like, that's the fuck's the point for me to be here? Because, like, and then some of the, just keeping it real, some of the other people there, I felt like if I was to ask them, they'd run with some, like, wild delusion, you know? just concoct some crazy woo-woo shit, and I just wasn't comfortable even talking to people. So it kind of sucked. I was like, well, why even be here now at this point? I don't know.
For sure. What crazy woo-woo would they say now?
Oh, like, I don't know. Probably like, oh, it was like some astral travel. It was just, I had spoken to somebody, I don't remember. They were trying to tell me some weird astral travel shit. And I was like, all right, I could kind of grasp that. But they were like getting like weird about it. And I was just like, or I had people telling me like certain like specific, oh, but it was a certain like deity and this and that. And I'm like, the fuck, I don't know. It was just hard to explain. it was just hard to explain. I was like, well, how did that come out of like what I was doing? It's just like I had my eyes closed, meditating in my chair, and you're telling me about fucking Asmodeus or some dumb shit. You know, I don't know. It's hard to explain.
It's weird sometimes people's interpretations of
Well,
things.
the thing, you know what the problem was is I was never even able to get out like exactly like it was before I was even done explaining myself. I was already getting answers, and I was like, see, like you haven't even listened to the whole fucking thing yet. That I think was the major problem. You know what I'm saying?
That's
so
not
it was just
good.
like, yeah. It was just like you're already throwing answers out there before I even explained this whole fucking visual and feeling scenario I went through. But no, yeah. So I just wasn't comfortable. So you're lucky you had that experience, you know?
Yeah, truly. It's a blessing. I do think a lot of people spend life trying to figure that out. Yeah.
Well, there is a gulf between the magic community and the paranormal community that didn't exist all throughout history because they're going to these places that are haunted and they're summoning the spirits and talking to them. That's where they get all their magical practices from, you know? It's firsthand experience, but I think a lot of people have sort of lost sight of that.
Yeah. And you know what? This is going to make me sound kind of like a bitch, but I feel like some of the paranormal community people, like, don't fully get what's going on. like looking at it from like the witchy energy mediumship perspective, like I'm sure you guys probably know what I'm talking about. Like there's some of those big shows where they're on like a little paranormal adventure, and like looking at it like as an occultist, like as a magical practitioner, as an energy worker, as a medium, I'm just like, oh man.
Oh, I mean, I'll even
People have no idea what they're doing, and it's like low key stressful to be like, what are you doing? Like, can I just come and teach you the ways, and then this is all gonna go so much better, and you're gonna not be scaring yourself over the most basic shit. Like, can we just all come hang out? Like, let me show you guys the ways.
Well,
and it's interesting. Like, so I think you're right. Like, there is that gulf where like some witchy people or occult people could stand to get more of their hands dirty with going out there, and then the paranormal people like could stand to learn a little bit more about what those of us over here in occult mediumship witchy energy land have to say. Like there's not a lot of people who are having that kind of cross-cultural conversation.
I like how you mentioned
right, you got to get.
Go ahead, Headless. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say you got to get them tickets to Lilydale. You know, Lilydale Assembly's still going on.
It is. And, like, it's right there. You just got to pay the entry fee to go chill.
Right.
Like, they're still doing their thing.
I like how you did mention.
I got curious to.
Go ahead, man.
Sorry, Nick.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I got curious to understand like how do you practice this spiritualism, because we have it in Brazil as well. Probably a different like. Let's say from a different origin, because I know from Brazil the guys came from France, so it's like the Kardec and whatever. There's like a bunch of other stuff. Yeah. If you mentioned the other ones, probably some Anglo-Saxon, like if it started in New York and so on. But like in Brazil, we have the mediumship, we have the tables and so on. We have a lot of healing passes, what they'll say, like you go and take the pass and whatever. But there's, for like outside people, there's also like communication sometimes, like you get like a letter written or something like that. Like how different, just to kind of try to grasp in my head.
Yeah, I'd be curious to hear more about what the situation is in Brazil to really be able to give you like an actually solid answer on that. But in terms technique wise, like all of what you just mentioned sounds very aligned. But even within North America, like spiritualism does have, like specifically spiritualism does have different little factions. So NSAC, like the National Spiritual Association of Churches, which is kind of what I grew up around, and that would be the Lilydale version of spiritualism, is really a bit different than non-NSAC forms of spiritualism in North America. Like, and so within the NSAC, there's rules, there's certain, you know, stuff that is cool and certain stuff that is not cool. Like they're really big on keeping things kind of purist, like no tarot, no tools, no nothing. Like they just want it to be pure body work. And other, let's say, forms of spiritualism in North America are a little bit more like laissez-faire. Some of them are a little bit more Christian inflected, whereas the NACC definitely is not. And so there are some kind of interesting little tensions there. Like I think I was talking to someone about this last night, actually. I did another podcast interview, and she's out in the UK, and she was kind of saying the same thing is going on out there in terms of the different spiritualist factions out yonder kind of battling each other. So it seems like it all kind of comes from a very common root or common series of folks who are influencing the thought and the practice. But I'm sure there's always like little political infighting in terms of what's considered to be like the legit way to do it. And that's always going to be kind of different. But I would say that sounds like there's some similarities in terms of the practices and techniques for sure.
Yeah, but it's interesting that you mentioned that, for example, the Lilydale one, it's not necessarily religious, right? Is that right? Or maybe less influenced? Because I think I understood you saying that there's like some that are more religious, like Christian, whatever focus, and some others maybe not that much more. I don't know. Thinking.
Yeah, so I would consider it religious, but I wouldn't consider it Christian.
Yeah, okay. That's what
like they consider the thing to be their own religion. They've got their little principles and all of that. But I don't actually think, and I could be wrong on this, but last I heard, I don't think you're actually allowed to have property in Lilydale if you accept Jesus. Like they're very like, we're doing our own thing here. Like that has nothing to do with Christianity. So they are very kind of protective, I would say, about that in that space.
Yeah, because in Brazil, it's a very Catholic country, from Portuguese guys and so on. So then it kind of got mixed with, so the Kardec stuff was very, very Christian. It's like they even use the Bible and whatever, and Jesus and so on. They talk about the same thing, but then it got syncretized with the African stuff and the native stuff. So then we have like this mix, and the branches are from the purely Christian guys, and then the ones that mix with the African stuff as well, and then the ones with mixed with the natives. So there's the whole shebang, like you said. Oh, this is, we can do it or we cannot do it. We can use it, we cannot use it. But it's, well, at the end of the day, really up to the people.
And you know what? Like, Brazil to me seems like such an interesting place spiritually, because there's so many different influences kind of interacting and coming together and having that conversation. So Brazil, from what I know, and please correct me if this is wrong, but it seems to be one of the main places that what they call in like the academic literature, like new religious movements come out of Brazil. Because like there's just so many different influences and stuff going on. So that's super interesting to hear about from your perspective.
Yeah, there's a lot of mix. And like, even, for example, spiritualism came there, and then a guy founded another thing called like a palmistry, I think would be called in English. And then it's like a whole another thing. And so yeah, it's like a new religion every week. Maybe a problem. So,
well, Matt, if I could jump in. So the spiritualist society I went to was in Falls Church, Virginia. And I would say that they're more on the Christian side, because they did have hymns and other, Christian sort of paraphernalia going on before the service itself. But I think it served to sort of, focus and sort of get everybody in the same mindset.
Totally.
Less so about, just the religious angle of it, and more so about the focus, though.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and I've got no shade on Christians actually at all. Like, it's just not OG spiritualism, I would say.
Gotcha.
Well, a lot of this comes from the Native American influence, right? So the Native American influence was a big thing in the Christian churches that at that time period, because they had practices that they were bringing into their church that the white people had never seen before. And they're like, well, why can't we do that too? And so it just sort of spread out from that sort of interaction. And I think it's, it represents something uniquely American that's now spreading across the world.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, as a part of my master's research, I did some looking into of the like Native American kind of indigenous influence with that, and there is a whole bunch of stuff to be said about that. A bunch of books as well I could recommend, not off the top of my head, but there was a lot of kind of cross-cultural conversation. And one thing that's really neat about Lilydale is like they do invite the local indigenous folks sometimes to come in and like give workshops. Like, that was actually a theme one year, I can't remember, probably like 10, 15 years ago, where they did have a whole bunch of kind of spiritually inflected classes taught by like the Iroquois, I think is down there, if I'm wrong. But so they do support that kind of cross-cultural conversation, I think always have, around spirit contact and what does that look like, and people channeling, let's say, indigenous spirit guides as well back in the day was also a big part of the conversation back in the 1800s for sure. So you're right to bring that up.
Yeah, I've even noticed, we've had people come on to cover like Native Americanism or just like certain things that I'll cover. I'll be like, oh my God, this is like, the Micmac medicine wheel. There's even like in Freemasonry, there's stuff that I think they've even taken from Native American symbols, some secret societies too. So that is interesting. Crossover.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing I did want to bring up, it was kind of something that Headless or kind of went into with the whole paranormal. That is interesting with the whole seance stuff. That is, again, going back to like, a lot of my opinion. I'm just going to keep it real. Ghost Adventures. You got Zach Baggins is always doing this silly fucking shit. And every other show, it's like, oh, a ritual was done here. Oh, a seance was done here. A ritual was done here. He's obviously, in my opinion, he's an occultist anyway. But he focuses on that shit, and he does make it seem rather fucking silly and stupid at times. But like, if you start looking back in the day, the Council of Nine, there's even stories of like, keep it real, the guys from Alcoholics Anonymous were even doing seances upstate New York. You get people who are actually into the occult, and they're doing seances. spiritualists who were, or occultists who got kind of more into spiritualism and started doing seances. I don't think people, like you're saying, like really understand like what they're imitating when they're doing these things in the paranormal shows.
Yeah, absolutely. Which to me seems so odd. Because it's like all you gotta do is like do a little Google, read a book,
Or are they
like
just grifting?
It's there. It's available.
Yeah.
And it's like people are into that. It's just odd to me that they wouldn't do that one step further to be like, all right, what else can I learn about this to make this process go a little bit more better?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny that you talk about this. I remember there's a guy in Brazil which got pretty big on RPG books and games and so on. And he would put actual rituals in the thing, and then people would do, and they would hear like stuff in their home and like the lights flickering and so on. So kind of yeah. I mean, like you said, if they went at least in search for it, they would know what's going on and not just doing it for random. So I'm actually now curious to know from your practice with the tarot, if you try to use also, for example, your experience with spiritualism, or you try to focus only on the cards. Like, do you separate that, or for you, there's no separation? Like, there's always.
For sure. It's a good question. For me, I kind of blend it all. And depending on the client, depending on what comes through, some people's ancestors or whatever are a little bit more chatty than others. And sometimes they're not there at all, which is always kind of interesting. But I don't sell my services really with that in mind. And the reason for that is, in my experience, a lot of people seeking mediumship and psychics and all of that, and they really want their dead Uncle Bob to like come through and say something. Like, they're often coming from this kind of desperation-y energy that I don't find super useful. Like, who cares if dead Uncle Bob still loves you? Like, it's fine. But is that going to help you make better choices in your life right now? Like, probably not. Like, it's a nice kind of platitude. I realize that might sound a little bit intense, but that is kind of why I don't sell what I do in that way, even though behind the scenes, like energetically, often that is a part of what's going on. So whenever I am reading for someone, like, am I sticking to the cards as a baseline? Absolutely. But there is also that kind of energy work, intuitive, mediumship, psychic-y type of vibe, that all of that is going to my process in different amounts depending on who I'm in front of.
Nice.
As a case-to-case basis, I guess, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, some people's energy is easier to read than others. Some people are a little bit more forthcoming than others. And so there always is going to be a little bit of a different vibe depending on who I'm reading for.
I'm sure you can get somebody who comes in who just like is like puking, basically just doesn't shut up, and it tells you so much stuff. And you can probably get some person who comes in like was dealing with you is like a little nervous and maybe doesn't talk as much.
Doesn't say anything.
Yeah. Then it's totally different technique probably.
Yeah.
Ways to
like
work.
It doesn't happen as much anymore, but in the past I have had some people come and say absolutely nothing, just to kind of like test me out or whatever. And then once they could see that my shit was legit, then they were like, they chilled out a little bit and were like, okay. And then kind of opened up. So you do kind of get some of those sometimes too, where they just want to give you a little test and make sure that you're not full of shit, which is a little bit annoying, but it's okay. Like, I always pass the test, so it's all right.
There you go.
Right. So I got to ask you, what is your favorite deck?
Oh my God, Rider-Waite-Smith, OG.
Okay, nice. I do like those older decks myself.
I love that deck. It's just a vibe. Like, it's so good. I've got, this was actually a really lovely gift from somebody. So it's like a pre-digital printing of it.
Nice.
So this is like actually from 70s, and it's such a vibe. Like, the colors are just so good. Yeah, I love this deck. It's absolutely my favorite. Like, what I love about it too is if you put it in front of someone who doesn't know literally a damn thing about tarot, like, they will be able to know that this card sucks. Like, they will be able to kind of get the vibe. Like, no one is happy to see this, whether you know about tarot or not. So I like that the imagery is so evocative, and my background is in illustration. So like, I've done magazine covers, all of that. Like, I've got 2 graphic novels out. So having good art that actually communicates the message that you want to have communicated, for me, is like the most important thing. Like, I really, really prioritize that when I'm thinking about what decks are the best, and like, can I read with a deck that literally just had the name of the cards written on it and that was it, like, sure, I could absolutely do that. But as an artist myself, like, this is the vibe. Yeah. How about y'all?
For me,
I
I'm
really like
go for it.
sorry, go on, Nick.
I'm a fan of a couple of them. I do like that deck, and I started off with the Golden Dawn deck because of there's a lot of associations on that card, which is another reason why I like the Rider-Waite deck, because I think if somebody, like, unfortunately, it's just my opinion, you can pick up some tarot decks and just, like, some people I think will just be like, oh, it's just some cool art that I'm supposed to interpret. It's like, no, there's actually associations with this shit that actually, help, give you an idea of what you're looking at. And, some decks don't have that at all. And, I'm afraid some people lose, the deepness to these cards. So I like the ones that have a lot of the associations on it to kind of, like, it's planetary shit,
Absolutely.
this and that, elemental. So, I do like those. And I will say I do like Crowley, the Toth deck. I do like that one.
Yeah. And you bring up something really good, I think, in terms of, like, a lot of these kind of new decks not really having the symbolism. And I do teach tarot to, like, total newbies. And one of the things I always tell them is, like, make sure that you choose the right deck, because sometimes you could be picking up on a deck that there is really no symbolism with that deck. It was just made by some random artist, bless their heart, who doesn't know a damn thing about tarot, and the art looks sweet, but the reason I think a lot of newbies who pick up those type of decks have like a struggle in their process of learning tarot, it's actually not on them. Like, it's on the fact that the deck makes no sense. And that is something I would love to have, like, people know more, because, like, as experts or people who know this shit, we can read anything. It's fine. But for a total newbie, like, some of these decks are not going to make any sense because they're not designed by people who actually read.
Yeah, and I even think...
So I had to pull it out.
Go for it, Atlas.
I got the Muka Tarot. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Franz Muka, but he, like,
video's bad.
Right, he started the Art Nouveau movement.
Yeah.
These are inspired by his works. It's not by him, but they're pretty good. Let me pull up another one here. Oh, here's a good one. Ace of Cups. Just gorgeous.
Nice.
But yeah, that's definitely along the same lines. It's got to have some artistic relevance to you so that you can really get into the idea of the art and the motifs. Right, Kitty?
Yeah. Yeah, I have 3 decks that I use for different reasons. I like the Mythic one with the Greek stories. It's pretty good for readings because, I mean, most people in the West know the Greek stories, so I can just say, Hercules, and then this guy, okay, I know more or less what it is. Like what you mentioned with the Rider-Waite one, you kind of just get it a little bit, even if the person never heard about it. And the imagery is also super nice. Then for some magical work, I really like the one from Papus, which is like has all the Kabbalah, astrology, anything like correlations, and also the images, superhero chemical and so on. So that's also pretty nice for Magick. It's also the one that I was initiated in when learning Kabbalah. So it's pretty clear to understand. And when doing when I do a reading and there's a bunch of smaller, like the minor arcana, then I really enjoyed the Egyptian one, which has also pretty good explanations for the minor arcana, like pretty specific numbers and correlations and imagery and so on. So that's also pretty nice. And I completely agree with you. Like, if a tarot deck is not made with the intention of being, a tarot deck, then you can call it a deck, but maybe not a tarot deck. Like I've seen those, like
call it an oracle deck.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. It's like oracle. Sure, you can call that a create your own thing, but then that's not tarot. That's like
Absolutely.
Your own thing,
Like, it's just an art deck then.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's not like an actual practical reading deck. And like, as an artist, I got no beef with art decks, but like, make sure people know what it is, because then the newbies are gonna get fucked up.
Yeah,
exactly.
Or like make it explicit if it's an oracle deck, like that there's a system and whatever, but then okay, you have the descriptions, it's something else, right? Yeah. Otherwise,
I've only felt like a tarot snob one time. This woman pulled out a deck that was made by what's that place in the mall that's next to it's Spencer's. It was a Spencer's gift deck that had all these Halloweeny things as the different suits. It was really bad. Like, they had the Wolfman on there as like the Emperor card and stuff. It was pretty bad.
There is an actual Halloween tarot. And I actually have had a
wasn't
student.
that one.
It wasn't that one. Yeah, I did have a student, a tarot student once try to learn with that first. And I was like, maybe not. Please, please no.
That's funny. So, if you don't mind, like, what would be like, I guess, when you were like kind of growing up, like when you were into this stuff, what would have been like, I guess, your normal practices, or like, what was your, I guess, magical daily life like? Or even what is it now, like now too, whatever.
Honestly, it's pretty subtle these days. Like I don't go too crazy.
Yeah.
But when I was younger, it was a lot of spirit contact, spirit work, mediumship, whether that was just the spirits chilling out, ancestors. There were like a few deities that I worked with back in the day. There were nature spirits, like land spirits, a dragon spirit that I was really vibing with as a kid. Makes sense, I guess. It was a lot of mediumship and like animism and just connecting with place, connecting with objects around me. It was a lot of stuff like that. Like I had a little altar, so ritual, candles, the whole shebang, like
nice.
Pretty much what you're kind of thinking. But for me, the most important thing for me magically has always been the spirit contact piece and the energy work piece. Like I've never been super big in terms of like ceremonialism or, needing to do things in a particular exact OCD type of way. Like that's never really been the way that I've worked. Like I've always been a little bit more intuitive, spontaneous, like close to the ground, like riding the waves of the vibes has always been my thing. Like for me, that's always felt the most magical. The strongest experiences, the best results I've gotten have been when it's come from a kind of immediate need, rather than like, all right, it's 5 p.m., it's magic time, like let's go. And no disrespect to folks who do that. I think like some folks need to, or some people's minds work best in that kind of regimented way, but that's never really been how I've felt called to practice. These days, I work with Santa Muerte and also St. Lucy, and then my ancestor spirits as well, and the land also to some extent. So it's a lot of just energy-based stuff.
Nice.
Which doesn't really look like you're doing too much, but you are.
No, I get that, yeah. Do you get like a lot into like herbs and crystals and stuff, or no? I don't know how much that stuff is incorporated into that stuff.
Like, I can fuck with that, but like, it's not the biggest part of my practice, I would say. Like, I have some little things around as like cutesy little things, but like, I'm definitely not one of those people that's got like 20 crystals. That's like, all right, what crystal we using for the magic today? Like, that's never really been my thing. And like, again, no shade to folks who practice that way. I think it's totally legit. And I do believe that stones have energies and yada yada, but it's not a big part of my practice, I would say. Like, I'm very like energetically focused in terms of how I work.
One question that came to mind, I don't know if it works like this for you, but I know from some people that do work with like spirits or mediumship in this case, they would get, for example, not tips, but they would get like a job to be done, for example. Like go and get this candle on that time, on that whatever, like very specific from the spirit. Get this other thing and mix it up and so on.
Yep, absolutely.
And so you do get those types of...
Yeah, sometimes for sure. Yeah, sometimes yes, sometimes no. But like if I'm getting those instructions, I'm following them for sure.
Nice. Yeah. And then that becomes like, I'm telling this because I've saw a Kabbalist doing this kind of study where he would study what the guys are requesting, and then he would see like the astrological time and whatever, and it would make sense for what they are requesting. So like a person doesn't even have to know because the guy's already telling them,
Absolutely.
Hey, do it like this. Just make it.
Absolutely.
It's gonna be ready.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up. And like for me, that also highlights the importance of like that trust between like the practitioner and then whoever we're working with spiritually, to be able to trust, first of all, that we've got some good spirits on our team and it's not just like some sketchy random spirit fucking us up. I think some people don't know how to discern that, which is interesting. But when we do have that spiritual relationship that is super strong, it becomes easier to trust some of these instructions that you're talking about, and then having the faith in the whole process to actually execute on it, rather than to be like, oh, I'm getting this impression that I should get this at this time, but I'm just going to ignore that because I'm just making that up, which I have heard from some newer practitioners, especially, that they're kind of afraid to go down that path and follow whatever that, let's say, inspired speech happens to direct them to be doing. So it's definitely an interesting thing to bring up.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you. You gotta trust what you're listening to, or like know how to differentiate, because otherwise, yeah, I mean, you also can trust it, right? Like you wouldn't do it because you don't trust. If I know the person's helping me is like an expert, it's like hiring a person in real life, right? If I'm hiring an expert, yeah, I'm trusting what the guy is talking about. Like I'm hiring him because he's an expert. So if you can trust it, then makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's huge.
Well, I think there's different styles too. A lot of the contract work requires a lot of really highly segmented and specific forms. Whereas if you're just trying to get to know your local nature and everything else like that, you're already in that conversation. So tapping into that a little bit more is not going to require all those rituals and things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like that. Well said. I know you also, with your PhD, like how does that tie into kind of like what you're doing?
Yeah. So TLDR, I'm doing a PhD in a philosophy of science department. So the other name for that field is science and technology studies. So we basically look at science. What is it? How does it work? Blah, blah, blah. And so within that context, I am doing work on witchcraft and magic as a form of trauma healing. And so the TLDR on that, because it's like a lot of writing on it, is that trauma, we get there because we kind of are frozen. And we're kind of paralyzed, right? Trauma basically is a paralysis response. And that's why it's so persistent. It's why we kind of stay there a long time once we're there. And so what I think is really unique about witchcraft and magic is it inherently is about action. It's about doing something. It is like, you can't be paralyzed and do magic, really. Like you have to do something. You have to set an intention. You got to go get the stuff. You've got to do the practice. You've got to act on it, really. And so my argument basically is that witchcraft and magic is specifically unique spiritually because it is so action oriented. It isn't really about passivity or accepting things as they are, which is distinct from a lot of other kind of spiritual tradition spaces, which is about acceptance, whatever, all of that type of thing. We're just gonna like let the vibes be how they are. We're going to accept life as it is. We're going to be, very chill. And what I like about magic for trauma is it's possible to be like, all right, everything sucks. Let's make it not suck. I don't want to accept the fact that everything sucks. Like, let's change some shit. And my argument basically is that there's an empowerment in that can help dislodge that paralysis freeze response that a lot of people get in trauma. Obviously, I think everyone should also go to therapy, do all that normal sciencey shit. But if we are going to get engaged spiritually, my argument basically is that magic can really help people if they take it seriously.
I totally agree with that. I think, I've even said before, I think a lot of shadow work is very important, to practice magic.
Absolutely.
And like, even for myself, like, I guess at one point before I started, I guess getting into it a little bit deeper, I was doing kind of like, I don't know if it was like so much trauma based, but I was focusing on things that, the ways that I thought, or certain things were kind of engraved into me that I was not agreeing with anymore, and I wanted to change. So it was a lot of focusing on that too. So I'm assuming, very much the same.
That's
thing.
important.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's super important. And I just think it's crucial in the community at large. And what I do observe sometimes, unfortunately, is a lot of people, let's say, teaching this stuff or presenting themselves to be experts at magic or whatever, who their life sucks. They seem miserable. And I'm kind of like, dude, like, where's your magic in all of this? Like, how is it that you haven't healed all of this shit yet and your life is a disaster? Like, it does make me sometimes question people's practice. Like, if they're still the mud after so long, like, because this stuff really is supposed to help people. Like, if you do it properly, like, it really can elevate you out of some shit. So that to me is just always like a little bit interesting to observe.
Oh no, I get that
completely.
That was all. Well, there's also times when, just from my experience, sometimes people do shadow work, and it's like, yeah, I think you're kind of just feeding that demon now. You're not really dealing with it. Yeah, and I mean that's probably a slippery slope with anybody, really.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
That's cool. When are you like scheduled to kind of be done for that?
Yeah, so hopefully summer 2026. So like the
Oh,
thing has
shit.
been written like since July. It's just jumping through all the academic hoops. Like academics are very slow in terms of scheduling their stuff. Herding academics is kind of like herding cats. Like it's very challenging. Like everyone is on like a very chilled out timeline. So at the moment it's just like waiting for everyone else to kind of read it. And then we're going to have to invite 2 more kind of external examiners to jump on board. And then I will have a really fun 3 to 4 hour oral exam. I will get to prove that I am not dumb. So that's like how it goes.
Yeah.
That'll be Dr. Sabrina, the witch doctor. So that'll be very fun.
Yo, that is wild. That's cool shit.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
And I know you got a bunch of books too. So why don't we get into
Yeah.
some of that actually? What made you start doing that?
I have many books.
Yeah.
So let's see. I'll show you guys some of these just for funsies. It's like kind of heavy. All right, this is all my things. So there's actually 1 journal missing. So I've got 4 journals, 2 tarot journals, 1 oracle card journal, and then 1 Magick journal. This is the Magick journal. Very fun cover. But otherwise, I think my most interesting books are probably my graphic novels, which are these. So this is my first one. This actually got nominated for the best graphic novel in Canada when it came out.
Oh shit.
Which is pretty fun. So it was originally self-pub, now it's with Wiser, and this is basically
Oh nice. Wiser.
a magical philosophy type of book. So the guy who wrote the foreword is like one of the foremost environmental philosophers working right now, and basically I'm talking about witchcraft as a form of like environmental knowing. Like what do we learn about the environment and the land from witchcraft and animism and all of that. So it's like very, very vibey. And it's
That's an
also
interesting
very
topic.
much like magic in the city, like magic in an urban setting. Like what does it mean to connect with witchcraft and magic when we are living like downtown in a big city, which is pretty much where I've lived for the last, I don't know, 20 years. I haven't lived out in the burbs in a really long time. So like how do we do magic amongst the skyscrapers is kind of what that's about. And then this is actually a part of the PhD, this graphic novels. This is like witchcraft and trauma kind of memoir type of stuff. So this is specifically kind of my story and how did I come to understand this shit. It's like 3 times longer than the other ones. I'll try to show you guys. So I did all the art and the writing and the design, blah, blah, blah. So like, yeah, so I'm really proud of this one. So this came out this year. Thank you. And then this is like a Witchy 101. And it was actually originally signed to Penguin, but then they were pissing me off. So I bought my rights back and decided to self-pub. And I have like absolutely no regrets. So this is kind of like more prose, like technique-based how-to. So my mission with this was to write a non-denominational energy, how the fuck to do the stuff. Because a lot of people would read my first book and they'd be like, all right, I bought in. Now what do I do? And so this book is kind of the answer to that question. And it can be used no matter what people believe. Like if they're Christian, atheist, Buddhist, but they want to do magic, like it's very much like energy work mechanics, pretty much is how I describe it. And then this one came out this year, a few months ago, actually. It's like my most cutesy book for sure. It's called A Witch at Home. Very cute. And so this one is like magic in the mundane. And I'm basically explaining like typical stuff we do every day, like cooking, putting on our shoes, putting on moisturizer, like stuff like that. And how can we understand that as magical if we've got the right intention? So I really don't think magic has to be put on our witchy cloak and clap 3 times and get 20 candles. Like I love all that stuff, don't get me wrong, but like I think like it seems basic, but I think it's like sneakily advanced as well. So that's that. And then I've got a book of poetry, which is a little bit more dark. And it is more like sexual assault healing type of poems, but there is like a magical element because I did work with witchcraft to kind of move past that. And so there is some poems about those rituals in here too for anyone for whom that would be healing, which I think is a lot of women, unfortunately. So that's the repertoire. And I've got like 4 or 5 other ones planned. So we'll see.
Oh, wow.
Too many books in my brain. So we'll see what happens.
It's funny. My other favorite academic author, magician, is a guy named Isaac Bonowitz. And in the 1970s, he got his degree in magic, and they're like, no, we're not doing that anymore. So it's been a long time that it's sort of had that chasm there, but I think a lot more academics are going back to magic is like, there's so much more stuff here that we missed the first time calling it pseudoscience or whatever.
Totally. So. Yeah. And I think there actually is a program, I think in the Netherlands, you guys know what I'm talking about, where you can actually get, I think, a master's and a PhD in like occult studies or something. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
This guy's going over there soon, so ask Matt. Yeah. He's going to be definitely researching that when he goes over.
Okay.
I don't know exactly like the thing that you're talking about, but I can see it. I can see it happening there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool as hell. I gotta look into that.
So that's happening. And there is actually an interesting book. I haven't read it yet, but it's on my shelf. It's called Esotericism and the Academy, which I think is kind of about this whole type of thing, like that connection between occultism and academics. It's interesting.
Right. Ars Notoria. You know about that one? I made a whole book about spells on how to get the angels to occupy your brain so you can copy down these ancient tomes better.
I love that.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, it was like a real big one on memory. Yeah. It's an old one. I think from the 1200s.
Even if you think about before, right, like the quadrivium, trivium, this kind of stuff, like what they used to study, or the Masonic guys, the Freemasons, like, yeah, they're basically academics. They were scholars and whatever, and just now we got kind of corrupted into this. Oh no, it's only science nowadays. Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
Or then even the other way, where some people don't even incorporate science into it.
Yeah.
They won't.
No, it's even worse. Yeah.
And honestly, I think academic study can always help people who are practicing magic. Like, it is interesting to me how many people are so anti-academic study. And it's like, whatever you believe, like, read the history book, like, read the things. Like, it's not gonna like fuck up your practice. It'll actually probably give you more interesting things to consider.
Yeah, it might actually broaden it for you, make it more interesting. Yeah, you can like re-fall in love with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think there's always something to be gained from learning more. Like, there's never something bad about that, honestly.
I've even said multiple.
There's a ton.
Go ahead, Headless.
There's a ton of anthropology books out there about these native practices with a whole bunch of really interesting insights. So if you look up the ethnography of like voodoo, they've got tons and tons of books on this stuff. So it's an untapped resource when it comes to magic.
Yeah, like my bookshelf over yonder is like got a lot of that shit. And like, I don't practice voodoo or hood or any of that stuff, but like reading about it academically, I think is useful for anyone who is practicing any form of magic. Like, even if people have no plans to ever go down that route for themselves personally in their practice, like, you're right. Like, there is still so much to be gained from learning about like, what does magic look like in different cultures, and how does that look even today?
Sometimes I think,
and I guess even, sorry, go on, Nick.
Just real quick, sometimes I even think just seeing the cross symbolism can even help. Like, you get a better understanding too.
Absolutely. Yeah, because like a lot of people are using similar mechanics. Like, not always, but like often enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, even if you don't use the same name, it's still magic. You know, like if you study Carl Jung and his stuff, it's purely alchemy and magic, and they call it psychotherapy. Okay, cool. You want to call it something else? Good for you, man. Like, it's still magic. So
absolutely.
Yeah. That would be kind of like the shadow work of a magician.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people, maybe not a lot, but like enough to be noticeable, are doing magic from that space of being unhealed or like really occupying the shadow space or whatever that is. And then that creates these unpleasant ripples for themselves and like whoever else they know. And like, unfortunately, I have seen that a lot over the years, like in the larger magical occult community, like the witch wars, like the drama between everyone. Like, it just seems to me so unnecessary. Like, if we're all doing that work, like why is this happening?
Well, I think that's unfortunately this is probably controversial, and I don't know. Oh well, this is my opinion. That could be a side effect of actually not doing the work, because unfortunately, there's a lot of this was kind of something I kind of wanted to get into. I know you talked about it not too long ago on your show. I don't want to get into it too much, but I do like to bring up the point, kind of. I think this is why you even see people losing themselves and others, and why I think people listen. The same, probably some of the same reasons I did. Loss, have no control. I wanted control in my life. I might have been fearful, is why I even got into this stuff. But at some point, I'm going to have to probably work on myself. And if I'm worried about protesting about some motherfucker I never knew, how am I fixing myself?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm worried about what the TV's fucking telling me to think, how am I working on myself?
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that seems to be almost like this growing thing of some sort of, I'll just keep it serious, social justice warring, virtual signaling shit.
Yep.
And I hate to say it, I'm going to be keeping it honest. Most of these motherfuckers are completely inauthentic. Anyway.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. And I've gotten a lot of pushback for saying similar things, as I'm sure you know. It is interesting to me how much that mindset that you just described is infecting at least the witchy space. I can't really speak to what that looks like in the OTO or anything like that, because it's not really my sphere. I have no idea. But in witchy land, where it is a lot of women, that has kind of taken over a lot of the vibe. It's this kind of social justice warrior activism, and then you see a lot of these women bullying each other. I've experienced people doing that to me, and it is fucked up. So I'm you guys, what is going on here?
Yeah, there's a show that's dropping in a few weeks where no, I think this week that I did a few weeks ago on somebody else's show, where I was legit told 2 or 3 times that I had white privilege, and I was yo, what the fuck is going on right now? Because I didn't agree with the OTO having meetings about George Floyd's situation. And I'm sitting here and I was really trying to be nice. And I'm yo, I have somebody who's in front of me who doesn't know anything about this organization telling me how it actually should be run. Mm-hmm. I'm how fascist is that actually? Mm-hmm. Who the fuck are you to tell the OTO how the fuck to run? They're based on the book of the law, not fucking CNN. Mm-hmm. George Floyd isn't in the book of the law. There's no George Floyd chapter. There's nothing in there that's telling you to watch fucking CNN and go protest. Mm-hmm. But what the fuck? It was just I was just what is going on right now? And it's yo, that shit is a little too much, man.
It's a bit weird, honestly. And I think, to me, it makes me concerned, for not to get dark, but for the future of democracy. Because if people are so easily believing exactly hook, line, and sinker, whatever they're seeing by some idiot on the news say, have we lost all discernment? Have we lost basic media literacy? Have we lost critical thinking skills? What the hell is going on here? Is to me, this type of thing that you're describing, we should not be here as a society, especially, and this is controversial, but if you look into actually what happened with the whole George Floyd thing, it's not exactly what people are presenting it to be. And the whole BLM organization is not exactly what people are presenting it to be. It's a huge grift, and he died of a drug overdose, basically. And the other thing, not to, again, get too crazy, but before he passed in that manner, let's say, the optics of it, there was a white guy who passed in a really similar manner, with the knee and whatever. I forget the guy's name.
No, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
What I'm talking about? And so it's that got no coverage. But if that did get media attention, could the optics of and the reality of exactly how the George Floyd thing went down could have been different, perhaps. And no one really wants to have that conversation because it's more complicated and more nuanced. There's just more going on than the typical all right, believe this shit and then go forth and protest. It's very bizarre.
And you know what? What I realized near the end of when I was kind of getting badgered. At one point, I was even sorry I was born white and grew up in Long Island. I don't even know how much of this is getting edited. I'm really interested to see what's coming out. But at one point, it was basically, I don't want to get too specific, but people, basically her husband is brown and she's afraid of ice. So I'm thinking in my head, so all of this comes down to you feeling fucking powerless and scared. And instead of doing the fucking work and stopping living in fear, you're going to make every other motherfucker around you think the way you should and scream for you. That's black magic, in my fucking opinion.
Yep. And a lot of people, unfortunately, are perhaps like due to lack of strength in themselves or like a lack of personal integrity, I don't know, like don't stand up to it. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm also white. You know, like my dad is from England, my mom is Quebecois, and it's like I have zero shame about that. Like, nor will I ever. And the fact that there is this weird manipulative thing going on right now, like where people are being pressured to feel shame, to perform shame, it's very fucked up. And I really hope that it ends like soon, because
I was
just
told
so bizarre.
I was told everything's political, and I was like, what? I was like, yo, I said, I haven't talked about that shit really on my show in a long fucking time, because all it does is cause fucking division. And I was like, I'll shit on both fucking sides. I said, I think both sides fucking suck. You know, we're all getting fucked by them. But it's just like, I don't know. It's just like, why am I being told I have to incorporate politics into my own show?
In a
like, who the fuck
way.
are you?
Like, yeah. And like coming from the academy too, it's like the way that all this shit is being talked about, like it has its origins in academia. And a lot of people don't realize that. But like this whole like critical race theory, like intersectionality, all of that stuff, that comes from the academy. And like that's fine as like an academic exploration and discussing ideas, and we're going to throw some stuff around and see how it lands. But when that becomes orthodoxy out like IRL in like governmental organizations and whatever, like and people become pressured to just adopt the ideology, it becomes a new religion, basically. And if you're not part of the religious cult, then you get shunned, ostracized, whatever it is.
I was
and
like,
it is behavior.
When has politics ever not been magic?
Yeah.
I even said that. I was like, in my opinion, if you're a magician and you're playing with politics, you're a fucking slave. Or I said something along that line. I'm like, you know automatically, if you're a magician, I ain't even fucking with that. It's pure slavery. I was like, there is enough people out there pushing hate. Right? I'm good on that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you're the guy up there and making the actual magic, like, then sure.
At one point, I wanted to get real fucked up, and I was gonna be like, yo, some white motherfucker just got his neck blown off. Aren't you fucking happy right now? Like, let's keep it real. Right. You know, you got some motherfucker that you probably hated. You got to watch him die on fucking TV. You're not good for a few fucking weeks. Like, you guys just, I'm never happy with anything. More.
It's fucked. Like, I cried when that happened. And, like, I'm not
fucking sick that shit was replayed over and over and over again. It was fucking traumatizing.
So fucked. And, like, the other thing with that, too, like, I did a whole bunch of podcast episodes about that. And actually a few YouTube lives about that.
Yeah, I noticed that you did your coverage. Like,
yeah. I was going off. I was not stoked on how a lot of people responded to that. Like being happy that he passed and all of this shit is so fucked.
Yo, I didn't like him. I didn't give a fuck about that dude. And I still don't think what happened to him, if that was real, it was even fucking cool. I honestly thought he was fucking annoying, to tell you the truth. But he doesn't deserve to die.
I kind of liked him, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, he was, I don't know.
Like, I didn't see all this stuff. But like, I had no beef with him, to be honest. But what did start making the waves in the witchy community was that apparently a few days before that happened, like apparently some witches put a hex on him, like some Etsy witches or whatever.
Yeah, I saw that shit. I saw some shit like that.
Right, and so that's part of what I was talking about on my podcast was like, I don't give a shit how much you don't like somebody. Like, I truly don't care. Like, we don't want to be hexing just because we don't like someone's politics. Like, maybe I'll disagree. I don't know. But like, for me, I'm just like, what the fuck?
Yo, I remember when I was like, I was like kind of just like getting into, I had already been interested in magic and practicing, but like I started like kind of starting to creep like the internet now. And this is like Facebook I was looking at. And I started coming across groups and I joined some of them. And all of a sudden, like, again, this shows you how I was not even into politics. Don't even fucking know there's an election coming up. And all of a sudden I see people like getting together to like fucking sway the election away from Trump. And I was like, what the fuck are people, what? And, you know, no offense in my head. I'm like, yo, these motherfuckers actually think they're doing something. Like, come on. Like, this is
like, imagine thinking that's where you want to put your magical energy.
This is a structured temper tantrum.
It's absolutely, like, it's arrogant. Like, it's entitled. It's childish. Like, how old are we all right now? Do you know what I mean? Like, to me, like, if that's where someone is putting their magical effort, I'm like, oh, you are so fucked up and unhealed right now. Like, you should be directing all of that vibe back into yourself. And like, I do think this is important because there is so much assumption, at least in like Witchylandia, that like all witchy people are, let's say, left wing. Like, I got invited to be like an external reader for some new book on like feminist witchcraft or whatever by this publisher. And so Like, I don't know what they thought they were signing up for when they got me to do it, because I'm like the most contrarian person in the sphere, really. And so, you know, like my feedback on this book was basically like, this is bullshit. Like, not all witches are left-wing, you know, woke activists who want to hex Trump. Like, I'm sorry, but the book was arguing that, like, that's a part of witchcraft inherently, to be a far left activist. Like, there was not even any mention that perhaps some witches are conservative or even centrist, God forbid. There was just
Margot Adler.
Really good point.
Margot Adler started chiseling the the epitaph a long time ago, but I think feminism really did do a lot to destroy the whole Wicca / whatever movement. It just sort of, it kind of hit the wall after that, you know?
Yep. Yeah, I've got so much I could say about that for sure, but it's unfortunate.
And you know,
it's unfortunate the way a lot of that's gone.
I'll even say there was people that I was. You see, this is another thing. I really didn't even know much about politics or even certain phrases until I was like in the OTO, because like there were certain people that I knew that would kind of start bitching about certain things. Like I think they somehow made the deacon role like available for non-binary people, and they were like, "Yo," some dudes were like, "What the fuck?" You know, not even so much like that. It's just like this whole ritual is based off energy, and like, what the fuck did you just do with that? I'm like, really didn't even know what the fuck any of this shit meant, to be totally honest with you, as I'm hearing this stuff, so I really didn't pay much mind to it. But like there was dudes that I realized due to like this stuff happening, they were extremely far right, and I still was like, yo, you're fucking crazy too, motherfucker. You know, so I'm just gonna say, no matter which way extreme you went, I wasn't cool with it. You know, so I just want to put that out there. People think I'm a fucking Nazi because I was just tired of the liberalism, but no, I was tired of fucking either one, actually. You know, I was tired of hearing the fucking extreme pushback from the fucking stupid shit. I was just like, oh man, this is silly now. What the fuck are we talking about? This isn't Magick.
Absolutely. Like, it doesn't take barely anything to be called a Nazi these days, too. You know, like, you could just disagree with someone on some basic thing.
You get called a Nazi for not believing somebody else fucking 100% and acting like them. It's like, how the fuck is this?
Right.
You're the Nazi.
Very weird. It's ironic. It's ironic, for sure.
Yo, I'm over here trying to fucking just stay by myself, like, and bother nobody. Like, what the fuck, man? I was even telling some other people, I was like, yo, like, I'm the type of, like, you don't want me to start getting involved in that shit, because I'll be that motherfucker you see on TV in a car just driving through a fucking protest. You want me to get all rah, 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 you'll fucking see if you push me that far. Let me be the cool, chill guy who talks about magic. That's where I could do the best and help people. I'm not going to do good behind bars because I decided to play politics and just fucking went nuts. You know? I'm no good to anybody that way. Sorry. I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses. I stick to magic.
Speaking of prison, I've actually...
And I've been in prison too, so that's another thing. I don't want to go back either.
I've never been, just so everyone knows, no shade. But I actually have gotten emails from family members of prisoners who are like, hey, my dad is super into witchcraft. Is it okay if he wants to know if it's okay if he uses your book, Witch Body, to teach his fellow inmates about witchcraft? And I was like, that is the coolest thing ever. Like, absolutely, yes, he has my permission to do that. Like, that's totally fine. And the message back was like, thank you so much, because literally every other witchy author that we've asked this to has either not replied or said no, which I find like so bizarre. Like, why not? Like, I see no shade, nothing wrong with that. Like, if they want to work on their practice and have spirituality behind bars, like, how does that negatively impact me in any way? Like, I just thought it was great. And I've actually tarot read for someone in prison before too. Yeah, actually. So I got a phone call, and it was, so I don't know how they did this. Maybe you can let me know, but I guess they smuggled somehow a cell phone.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there was tons of those where I was at, yeah.
And so, like, literally, he was just calling me, and, like, it was a normal phone call, and I was just, like, pulling cards, and it was like, oh, you can't see your kids. Wait, why can't you see your kids? It was, like, halfway through the reading, and he was like, oh, I'm in prison. I was like, hold on, what the fuck?
Yo, I cannot believe some dude paid to rent a cell phone in prison to call. I mean, that's cool, but it's just wild.
That's amazing.
It was wild. It was wild. Like, and it was fun, and I gave him, my advice and all that
That's
stuff.
Cool
I
as
read
shit.
Cards, like, it was all cool. But I was really touched by that, actually. Like, because he was a genuine dude. Like, he wanted to better his relationship with his kids. And I have nothing bad to say about that. And here he is, like, trying to get a little tarot reading in prison. Like, good for him.
I will say, when I was in prison, I was exposed to a ton of occultism.
That's interesting.
Tons.
Like, how so?
Books. There was books on there was a ton of Crowley books in there. There would be books on like different forms of ideas of magic, conspiracy books, David Icke books. People into like thinking they're from like the Pleiades and shit like that. Like really any off the wall Dr. Dwight York type shit. We start getting into like 5% of shit, including aliens, and tossing that shit in there. The Muslims had their own mathematics and all that. You'd have those types of stuff in there.
That's interesting. Honestly,
We had Odinists in there. There were Satanists in there. There was actually I think a few Thelemites, but I knew of it and even did read Crowley stuff in there, but I wasn't like fucking with them too much. I just but I knew there was people in there.
To do any magic in prison, or like how did your practice look like when you were in there?
I wasn't really practice. I didn't start doing ritualistic work. I was basically just reading everything. I didn't start doing that until I got out. Yeah. But yeah, there was a lot of stuff. It was really weird, actually. How when I talk about the Council of Nine and that old seance shit, that was in a book that I read in prison. It was just
that's crazy.
Yeah. There was just a lot of occult stuff in there, and it's very it just makes sense, I guess, that maybe somebody would actually call you, because there's people reading that shit in prison.
That's so interesting.
Some stuff I have wondered though. It's like, is this shit getting dropped off in here so people believe some of the silliest shit possible? Some of it was just like off the wall, this whole reptilian agenda and shit like that. Whatever. But no, there's just some, there's all sorts of wild, weird stuff in prison. It's interesting.
That is interesting, honestly.
Yeah. I remember the first time I even heard of Hail the Pale Horse was in prison. And the big thing about it was that supposedly it wasn't allowed in prison. So that's why, even my bunkie was like, yo, look at this fucking book I got, dude. He's like, we're not supposed to have this. And it was like some gang member, some high-up gang member from the fucking, to the disciples, the gangster disciples. Coolest motherfucker, though. He was like, reading this shit, and he was like blowing his mind. He was like, I fucking knew the government was fucking us. Like, it was like this revelationary book to this kid. It was so funny to watch, him read it and, get mind blown over it. Yeah. It was just funny to see some, hardcore gangster kid, just acting like himself. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, yeah. But, yeah, that was the first time I heard of it. I was like, funny, of course, in prison. That's just interesting.
That's so interesting. Magic book club in prison. Who knew? Not me. I did not know that. But it makes sense now.
Oh, yeah. A lot of things is, too, though, people get shit sent in and then they just leave it there. That's basically how the library was at Fort Dix. I mean, most of that is all just books left over from people. I left books there. I donated books to them when I left.
So apparently at least one of my books is in there somewhere.
That is awesome.
It's crazy.
That's cool as shit.
Yeah.
Nice. And do you know which one it was? Oh, I don't want to ask because,
I actually don't know.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's in my email somewhere, but honestly, I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Somewhere in America.
On the other side of the wire, because it turned out me and Nick were at the same fort. I was just in the army and he was in the jail, but
the prison that I went to was Fort Dix in New Jersey, and it is an actual active army base too. So I was literally in prison and he was on the other side of the fence in training. I was like, we realized at one point where I was like, what the fuck? That is insane.
Right.
That's wild. And the army is kind of interesting too.
Right. So in basic training, they let you choose which church you go to. And me and a couple of the other witchier people, they were like, well, we're Wiccan. We got to go out in the field. So they let us go out into the field with our tarot cards on Sundays.
Did they give you tobacco? Wait. You weren't in prison. That's right. I'm thinking prison would give you tobacco. Sorry.
That's cool, though.
Yeah. We had
people were like, can we go with them? We just want to sit in the field. We don't want to go to church or anything. So we got a lot more members that way.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's even another thing. I think even there they had some sort of Native American thing, and I'm almost positive there was some Wiccan thing that allowed them to have tobacco too for their services. So that was a way that you'd see tobacco going around getting sold.
Mm.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying, like, I think I remember it even came, like, the Wiccans were even, I think, even acknowledged in this prison and given, like, tobacco for the ritual shit. So, I mean, there was a lot of shit going on at that place.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I would totally read a book about, like, prison magic. I would. I think that'd be interesting.
Ethnography right there, prison magic.
Totally.
You know who probably actually has shit on that? And then to promote the guy, I'm wondering, Damien Eccles. I mean, that guy was in prison for fucking how long? Right. And he says he was still practicing magic in there. So, you know who Damien Eccles is, Sabrina? Yeah. I mean, I know he could be a controversial character, but, you know, whatever. I'm just saying, he was in prison for a long time. Supposedly.
Doing magic, yeah.
If he was in prison the whole time. Sometimes I question what shit's real and what shit's not with this stuff anymore. But yeah. Anything else that you would like to at least maybe promote or anything that you could talk about?
Oh my God, I could talk forever about whatever you guys want. But to promote, I guess,
yes,
tarot readings. I'm very good actually at doing the tarot. So if anyone does want to get a reading, listening to this, you know where to find me. The internet. It's kind of my big thing. Otherwise, this might sound a bit odd, but I'm doing a lot of life coaching right now.
Okay.
And like, interestingly, almost all of my clients are men. Actually, no, all of my life coaching clients right now are men. And so it's like life coaching with spirituality and magic stuff kind of rolled in there. So it's a lot of teaching people ritual, spiritual stuff they can kind of do to get their shit on track, which has been honestly such a fucking fun time. And like, I love working with men. Like, so just like, mean business, decisive, respectful. They're on their shit. They show up with an agenda, like a little itinerary of things they want to get into. Like, I fucking love it. Like, it's so interesting as 10 years ago, my clients are pretty much 95% women, and now it's like completely flipped. And I don't really know why that happened. Like, I didn't change anything per se about myself or whatever. So I don't know, but it's been great. Like, it's been really, really fun to work with folks in that way.
Well, I could say from my experience, from being like in the OTO or just being like around the witchcraft community or other like orders, when you start getting into like more of the ceremonial shit, you'll definitely see a much more male population, and as you start getting closer to less of that and more, I think, towards witchcraft, much more women. So I don't know if it's the whole thing of being structured. Maybe the women don't want that, and the guys are just very much like, I'm regimented, just this, and that's how it works.
It's been interesting.
I have noticed that myself. Not saying either one's right or wrong. I think you probably need a little bit of both, but you know.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. No, but it's been a fun time. So it's been a lot of what I've been doing these days, and I guess to promote like my books, I've got a lot. Look them up. They're on Amazon. I don't know. Like, at least one of them will be a good present for yourself or someone else.
There you go. Yeah, that's right. And you did all the art yourself, correct?
Literally all of it.
That is impressive too. Like, that has to be time consuming.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So like, it'll take me a lot longer to do a graphic novel than like a prose book. Like a prose book I can spit out pretty quickly, but a graphic novel, like the drawing takes way longer than the writing.
Yeah, I would assume
like,
so.
It's incredibly labor intensive for sure. And I'll get like a little like pain in my elbow from like painting for so long. It's a lot, but
wow.
But it's fun. Yeah, it's
that
fun.
must be definitely, I guess, like a love or a passion, that stuff, if you keep doing it.
Yeah. Like, I've always been an artist, and like, I can't imagine never painting again, you know? And like, I used to be a commercial artist, so it's like magazine covers, stuff like that, like art for other people's commercial situations. And so now it's just all illustrating my own writing. Like, that's kind of more my focus these days. And like, I love the blend of images and writing. And I think with something like witchcraft and magic, it does make sense to have a visual component, because most of these books about magic, there isn't necessarily always a visual. So part of what I do with my graphic novels is to at least depict, like, what does that process feel like for me? Because if you just look at someone practicing magic, it doesn't usually look like there's anything going on. Like, it looks like they're like sitting peacefully in front of a candle or something, like, which is totally fine. But to like basically be able to depict what that spiritual experience feels like going on a spiritual journey to do this or that, or spirit contact, or yada yada. Like for me, the graphic novel opens up a lot of possibilities in terms of communicating like what does magic feel like experientially, at least from my perspective.
That's
Very
great.
nice
So
that
many
you're
occultists, so many occultists suck at art.
Oh,
Like specifically Crowley is
I
just
suck too.
terrible.
I don't even
There
attempt
we
it.
go.
I don't even attempt it. I don't even attempt the shit. No way. Stick figures.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see one that's really on top of it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Doing my best out here.
Very nice that you mentioned that, because we on the Twitter Spaces we do on the Grey Lodge, we talk a lot about like movies or books or drawings, anime, whatever that does exactly this that you mentioned. Like they'll use some kind of esoteric thing to explain the story, and then if someone is just watching it for the story, they won't necessarily know it. But if you know the thing, it's like obvious that they're using some kind of magical thing and so on. So you get it. It's a very nice repertoire that you can build as well for your own practical things. Because yeah, I mean, ceremonial magic, that's the thing people don't understand about as well. Like ceremonial magic is not about the actual things that you're wearing and so on, because that by itself doesn't matter. Like, yeah, sure, I can wear some sword and whatever and speak stuff, but if I'm not applying the stuff with my mind and emotions and everything, then yeah, it doesn't work. So
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think a lot of people like don't realize that if they're newer to the space, like they do think that there is just like this magic aesthetic or this witchy aesthetic, and you just have to perform the aesthetic, like the kind of Harry Potterification of like witchcraft aesthetics, and then like you're good. That's all you have to do. But like you're right, like it is all mind based half the time.
I agree. I even fell into that. Myself. So,
Yeah. And like speaking of art and creativity too, like for me, the practice and the process of creating art or writing, like it's very similar to my magical practice in terms of like the energy flow and like the arc of like channeling something, like touching into a particular energy current and then just riding the wave and letting it like come through. Like for me, there is a similarity there ritualistically, which I think is probably the same thing for quite a few like occulty artist type folks.
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
There we go. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Headless made that.
Oh, is that your work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I love it's like right behind you.
He's done a couple of pieces. He's getting better. He even made his own easel out of like a fucking branch.
Yeah.
I've like never used an easel in my life. I just paint flat. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you were saying your elbow before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Because it's a wet medium that I use. It's like India ink. So if I painted, it would drip all over the place.
Makes sense.
And we have some Jackson Pollock type of vibes, which is not exactly what I'm going for.
Yeah, and it's kind of crucial for anyone trying to improve on magic and so on to have some kind of artistic. It doesn't have to be painting. Could be music. Could be anything. Like just making stuff with that kind of creative part of the brain, like more right side brain. It also helps getting into states. So that's pretty cool.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Like even cooking or something like that. Something where you just need to like follow that intuitive flow. I think even sports, like physicality, like sports, something like that, like some form of movement, that can also be like, or even dance, I guess, like that can be creative too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you have to be creative to be good at the sport, right? Like if you're playing basketball or something, you cannot do the same shot over and over. People pick up on that, so we have to come up with new ways, and you kind of have to get there. And that getting there is the same getting there when you're doing magic. So
totally, like there's the flow state that we have to access. Whether that is
yes.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. Yeah, it's almost like the same thing as like for me as a ceremonial magician. It's like when I get into that flow state during the ritual, and it's just going. I can see what you're saying. It's almost like a physical meditation.
Totally. Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
Like nice.
And honestly, I think like a lot of magic-y folks are very like brain dominant or like up here dominant, which is why I always like tell my students like do something physical that you have to like touch reality, like whether that is like painting, cooking, going to the gym, playing soccer, like I don't care. Like do something that gets you in touch with the body. Because like the body is the vessel of magic and spirit and all of that, like as much as it is mental. Like there is that like body as instrument of magic thing, like body as sensor. And so the more embodied people are, I think the better everything kind of tends to go.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree. I think kind of taking care of your body should be something that more people incorporate into.
And it's interesting that that's not really the case. Like I find a lot of people are just happy to stay in the mental and completely neglect the physical, whether that's like eating bad, never working out, like whatever it is. Very interesting.
Yeah, I've done that mistake myself too throughout my career, your magical career. Stopped going to the gym as much, was focusing more on that. Did notice a little bit more changes in myself, went back to the gym and realized I was like, wow, I actually feel better. I was less stressed because like even though I'm meditating, for me, even going to the gym, like I was saying before, I think it's a physical meditation to an extent.
Totally.
And it's like that I could go to the gym in the morning and like leave and it's like my day would be good. If I didn't go, I could realize I'm a cranky motherfucker an hour later. It's like I didn't get like, I didn't exert all that energy through the weights instead of my mouth,
Totally. And like there is a channeling of energy aspect to the gym too. Like you actually are like source. Like there is like I want
totally
to
believe that.
I think it's so interesting. I think a lot of people in the occult space are kind of like a bit more artsy, let's say, and not everyone is super grounded in the physical. And the gym is magical, I think, for sure.
Oh yeah, no. I think it's alchemical for me. Believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. 100%.
Yeah. I'll definitely after the show, if you don't mind, just send me like all the links that you have. I think you might just have a link tree or something that has all your stuff on it.
I'll send you all the things.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. This was really fun. Definitely like to get you back on and chop it up with maybe some more topics or some other specifics, but definitely had a great time having you on. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. This has been honestly a blast. Like best way to spend my snowy afternoon. You guys are all awesome. It's been super fun.
Yes.
Well, I'd love to come back.
Yes. Well, again, thank. I think we talked about it off air, but thank ChatGPT because I threw in a whole bunch of occult podcasts in there, and I was like, "Yo, pull out the best guests and like the best topics like that all these shows have had," and it spits you out among other people that I already knew of. So I was like, "Oh, okay, all right, let's get her on."
I love it. Now I'm gonna ask ChatGPT the same question and see if it mentions me. I want to see like ChatGPT big me up. Like, let's see.
Right. That'll be funny.
You know what? I've actually got some tarot clients recently from ChatGPT recommending me too, which is very interesting.
Oh,
nice.
Wow.
Nice. New Google.
Yeah, so I can't complain.
That's interesting. I wonder sometimes if that even happens when people typing your shit in there already and it starts to already know like that you exist. I don't know.
And I'm sure it happens to people finding your show too.
Oh,
like,
yeah. It is interesting shit. But I'll definitely get all your links and include them all. Thank you again, like I said, for coming on. It was a great chat. And like I'd be definitely can, I think, talk to you about some other stuff in the future. Real quick before we end it, Matt, would you also let everybody know what is going on with you?
Yes. So again, you can find me on many socials. That's always at Mattmora19 on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, maybe some other place. There are the Grey Lodge spaces every Friday on Twitter. That's going to be also on our website, The True Grey Lodge with the V, so truth.com, so thetruegraylodge.com. And my website, Kabbalah.com, that's KAABALAH.com. If you want any type of like astrology reading, numerology reading, matcha reading, energy reading, or just some magic operation, you can find me there. I'm going to do those a little bit more this year, and things are going to change up next month. So enjoy while it's open there. And there's always the little apps and stuff that, always updating it and improving. So if you like that, just make sure to go to the website. Thanks again, Nick. It was a blast, and very nice to meet you, Sabrina. A lot of cool stuff that you spoke today. And yeah, nice stuff.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate you making it. And Headless, my man. Let everybody know where they can find your stuff and remind them about these shows.
Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter and on Instagram and on YouTube. Check out The Headless Giant. I have Alchemy Mondays with Eros. I've got coming up tonight, we've got 777 with me and Nick. We'll go through the Kabbalah of Aleister Crowley. And then on Thursdays, send us your emails at headlessgiantpodcast podcast@gmail.com, and we will read your occult/esoteric/paranormal stories as we go over our favorite symbols throughout all of history. So check us out. And also on Sundays, I've got the trilogues with Ethan Indigo and Ricardo. I've had some substitutes hopping in while I've been on vacation, so check those out as well. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you very much. And Sabrina, again, thank you so much for coming on. That was an awesome chat. Definitely look forward to maybe having you on after you get this PhD, hopefully you get that. Good
Hopefully
luck.
even before.
Yes.
It's like Mars.
No, but I'm just saying, like, I like to have it, like to hear you come back on and say you have it. You know what I'm saying? That would be great.
As the witch doctor.
Yes. Hell yeah.
That would be really fun.
That's awesome. Yes, we'll definitely keep in touch. And again, thank you all. And that's the end of another Occult Rejects. And until the next one, everybody be well. Later.